Welcome, 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 everybody. Thank you for being here. This is Life's Podcast and Videocast with Sujata and Coach Les. And we are here this evening on multiple streams. And I'm here with my co-host, Sujata, again, who wrote this book, Against All Odds, No Retakes, No Manuals, Real Life Lessons. And Sujata has accumulated a wealth of experience during her life, leading to insights and knowledge that cannot be coached or taught in a class. She's a mother, a wife, a journalist, a consultant, an activist, a leader, and businesswoman, domestically and internationally. In sharing her story, Sujata strives to provide readers of all backgrounds in any part of the world with real-life examples on how to deal with the unpredictable nature of everyday life. And I am Coach Les, and I am here with a commitment to transform the world through communication by helping others realize their untapped potential for improvement. I've led training and development programs for over 2 decades, and during this time, I've coached thousands of people. I have expertise and experience in designing and implementing entertaining and educational curriculums for troubleshooting and calming the waters of turbulent situations. And I'm skilled at helping people create positive results in their professional and personal life. I'm also a Ziegler Legacy certified coach and speaker with a DISC personality behavior certificate. And welcome, welcome, welcome. And tonight we are here once again to talk about losing a loved one and how to deal with it during the holidays. Last week we started a conversation, and we looked at the ramifications of what happens, how it impacts homes, how it impacts people, how it impacts kids. And I believe that during the holidays, my personal experience has been to remember my lost loved ones the way that I know they would want me to remember them. And that is with happiness, remembering the good times, not wallowing in self-pity, not wallowing in loss, not wallowing on the couch eating bonbons, but instead honoring them. And for me personally, I believe they're watching down, looking down on us, and still connected to us. And for me, I believe that it's an honor to be able to know that and support that. And I know that they would want me to be happy, living the fullest life possible, because we don't know how much time we have. And time is the most valuable thing that we have. And, for that, I think there's a huge opportunity in the world to create an empowering conversation around loved ones at the holidays. And that's where I'm going to start it this evening. And with that, I'm going to pass the microphone over to Sujata and have her share a little bit about her book, because she does talk about it several times in her book. So with that, good evening, Sujata.
Oh.
I heard you. You came off mute.
Yeah, it's very choppy with the technology here. So the button wasn't working even on the computer, the mic button. Anyway, so yes, so the best thing to do is to remember the loved ones by doing something in their memory. For example, you could, I told Yash, who died in a bike accident, who was very key and integral to my story. that, I told the mother that she could start something in Yash's memory. Whatever he liked or he would have wanted to do, why don't we start either a charity, something which uplifts other people's lives, and doing that every year in memory to the person who's gone is a very good way of remembering the person and continuing with the person's legacy that they left behind. Same with Akash, who died. His parents set up the Terry Fox Run, which is held every year in uh, Chennai or Madras in India. So there are many things that you can do. You can have your own personal activity or an ongoing event which you do in the memory, like for your parents or for whosoever the loved ones who have passed on. You can do that. That way you keep them alive even though they are gone, and you also do something to know that they are there. So you can do many things which will help you cope with your grief and loss, and you can have good memories even going forward when you do things for them. And that's, I think, the key thing is for people to move on when they go through this. As far as holidays, it's in in the best of times you can never predict the weather. So some holidays will have some memories where it will be a memory which will be of pain or loss. That's just how life is. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sujata. And I see we have our amazing guest, Michelle Trado, here. Michelle, how would you like to jump in on this conversation today?
Actually, this is going to be great. This is a great topic, especially from what I'm going through. Um, Holidays are going to be tough for me. Thanksgiving and Christmas. I had wonderful memories with my husband. I remember actually he would love to make. He's the one that made the turkey dinners. I got pictures of it on my Facebook page, and that I don't know why he didn't. We always did the holidays together, but he always cooked the turkey. He would make it like with bacon on it. He actually put bacon on the turkey and cook in the oven. It was delicious. I miss his home cooking. I think he cooks better than I do when he was alive. I remember that I was in college, I was in school, and he cooked everything for me because he was sick during this time, so he couldn't work. But while he was sick, he took care of me and had the dinner and everything. And I got spoiled. And there was a time he says, "You don't cook for me. Why don't you cook for me once in a while?" And I'm like, so used to it that I never cooked. He was such a good cook. He was such a good man. It's going to be difficult, but I feel I'm going to be strong. I'm not going to dwell on it, and I'm going to make new memories. What I did last year was, this is kind of funny. Not funny, but it was kind of amazing. This has helped me in my healing process. Was I got a letter. It was to my husband's name. It was a I guess a company, jewelry company. It said to Norman Trito, "Would you love to give this necklace to your wife on your anniversary?" Because my anniversary was coming up. And what I did for healing was I bought that. Like he was, like he was there. And when I got it and it came in the mail and I had to my wife, Michelle, who I love forever. And I got it. I still have it. I can't wear it because the chain is too small. I got to get a different chain. But little things, memories like that help with your healing process. And what you do, remember that person does heals your emotions. And it's a healthy healing. You go to Christ, and when you go to Christ, you heal the right way. You grieve the right way, and it's very difficult. I never thought grieving was so difficult in my life. I think because this December he died a day before our wedding anniversary, and he went into the hospital actually on Thanksgiving. So these two holidays are going to be very hard, but I don't think but I'm not going to give up. You know, people need to understand, just because holidays come, don't give up the holidays. Change it up, make new memories, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to get a new tree, new decorations, and I am going to I do have memories of Christmas. I'm going to keep a few things, but I'm not going to dwell on it because my husband would not want me to do that. He will want me to move on, but I'm always going to remember him, and I love him, and you never stop grieving him at all. I'm never going to stop grieving him, but I'm going to be happy no matter what. That's what he wants me to do, and he wants me to keep the Lord in my heart. You know, he doesn't want me to give up on God just because he's gone. That would be the worst. Every time I think about him, about, you know, just because he's gone, you don't want to give up God. It would hurt him so much just because he's gone. And I'm going to see him. I'm going to see him someday. So that is my take on this, Coach. And thank you for letting me have this share. And I grew out of this. I'm growing. I'm finding things about my husband I did not know when we were alive. Like, my husband taught me a lot of things. He taught me about how to find a good man someday, like how he was. I remember him saying when he was dying, "You're going to get someone someday." I didn't understand what he was talking about. He says, how you can get anyone you want. And I looked at my husband, "What are you talking about? What are you talking about?" And this whole year, because he was dying before COVID even hit. COVID just got him sooner, I guess, or I don't know, but my husband was preparing me for all this. And I thank God that my husband did. He loved me that much that he wanted me to be ready. And one thing that did happen the week before he got sick with COVID, and he talked to our pastor at church. And I found this out after the fact that he died, that he told my church to take care of me. I think I'm going to die very soon. And I was with the children's ministry at that time. And when they told me this, like, wow, he knew when he was going to be gone. And I think I'm grieving all right. I'm not perfect, and I make mistakes, but I think I'm glad that my husband did what he did, because it made it easier for him to go to see Jesus. My husband wanted me to be independent and make it easier for me to deal with it. And that's how amazing my husband is, and I will never forget that. So thank you for my share.
You are welcome. And thank you for being here, Michelle. And, you know, I'm so happy you're part of our family, and you are going to be able to be with us during the time and give us an opportunity to support you during that time.
Thank you, Coach. I'm so glad I have you guys too. I learned so much about myself. I learned about a lot of things, Coach. Yes, thank you. Thank you for welcoming me into your family.
And with that, I want to pass the microphone over to Carmen. Hi, Carmen. How are you today?
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you beautifully.
Oh, great. Anyway, I sort of kind of wandered into this group. I was actually So I guess it's meant to be, I guess is what I first want to say. That it was meant for me to say something in this group, because right before I joined this room, which I had no idea was going on, I was responding to a messenger, I guess text is what you would call it, which I rarely do. But it was a friend that I've had for years, but she's living in, I'm in New York, and she's living in Florida, and she's always has always sending me uplifting, uplifting things and messages and stuff. And most of the time I don't respond. I read them and I don't respond. But I went into Messenger because I saw she sent me a message, and it was right on time. Because out of the blue, to me, it's out of the blue, she's sending me hugs. And she had no idea how I was feeling right now. And I was just touched deeply by it. Just simply hugs. And I've been feeling the loss of my brother. I'm the oldest of 7, and my brother Sam died last year in January from complications of diabetes. And I don't think she knows that. I don't think I ever, communicated that to her. So for her to send me, she doesn't know. And I think that's the importance of just being in touch, even if you don't get a response. You don't know what reaching out to someone means, or how it can meet a need at that moment. And I was really taken aback, and I quickly responded to her, and I wrote back to her and I said, "Thank you so much." I said, "You don't know what this means to me." I said, "I don't think that you're aware that my brother Sam," and she knows who Sam is because we all grew up together. And she says, "I don't think you know that Sam, passed away last year from diabetes, and I am feeling his loss right now." And I said, "I just want to thank you because you just gave me a gift. And I have to thank you for it." And so you never know how reaching out to someone in whatever way, because I'm not really a messenger person. I'm not really a text. I'm not really into social media at all, because I'm the kind of person that I love communication. I get a lot from talking to people and hearing their voice. And I can pick up a lot through that. And I think that texting and, to me, that's just not a good way of communication. And so, I would say that God works in many ways, his wonders to behold. And God has always worked in my life that way. When you expect comfort or hope one way, somehow it comes out of left field. It has always happened that way in my life. When you think things are going to work one way, you're looking at, this is my experience in my life, what I need comes another way. And these hugs came out of left field. And I don't know how I am going to celebrate Thanksgiving. I think God has brought the celebration to my life. Yesterday I was at church, and unbeknownst to me, there was a well-known trumpeter, that was at my church, and I wasn't sure if I was going to go, to church, and I did, and boy, the concert was for me. Oh my goodness, I enjoyed it to the core, because the music, the songs, everything was for me. And it filled my heart. And I don't know where I will be spending Thanksgiving this Thursday. I don't dwell on it. I have made no plans, because God is working in my life from left field. And I am, I never know how I'm going to get through this grief, because my brother is 1.5 years younger than me. I didn't know until he passed away. It wasn't like we communicated on a regular basis, but I always knew with my brother that he was always there for me. It was just a quiet strength that I knew that no matter what, sometimes I did not have money to visit my daughter in San Antonio, Texas. And I would say, Sam, I don't have all the money to visit my daughter in San Antonio. And he would contact my other brothers, because we were 7. He'd contact my other brothers, 3 other brothers. And because it's 3 other brothers and 2 sisters, but he would contact my other brothers. And do you know, he would get the money together. Oh my God. It's not, and many other things. I can tell you many other things about his sensitivity, about his being there on time, and just that knowing. And that was even though I was the oldest, he provided that strength for me, that I could always count on him, no matter the situation. And now that he is missing, there's a big hole in my heart. There's a big gap that I don't know that anyone can fill. And that, I guess what I'm talking to you is about my own process in grieving this particular brother. Okay, because this is the first time that I'm losing a sibling. Okay, and sometimes until it happens to you, you really don't understand. You can listen to other people talk about grief, which I have, because I am a professional counselor. And I listened to a whole lot of, the right word is not stories, but, people going through grief. But honey, it's a unique experience when it happens to you, And I have, I remember part of my training was, reading a book on grieving by Kubler-Ross. And, when I was in training, so that's how grieving is. And now they've debunked that and said, you know what? No, grieving is not in stages. No, it's not cookie cutter. No, it's not. You go through this step and that step and it's done. Well, now that I'm grieving someone who was significant, who made an impact, who made a difference in my life, wow, I don't see steps to. And right now I feel that, I don't know if and when grieving ends. So right now as I speak to myself and as I process this, I tell myself, when is it over? I can't use the word over. How do I process this loss? Will there be another brother like him? No, there won't be. There won't be. Okay? But the comfort that I get day to day from left field is God's comfort to me. And I land my plane with that.
Well, Carmen, thank you. And thank you for being here. Talk about perfect, as you said, talk about perfect timing to be here. One of the things that, I tell and share with people is, when we're never, I hope and pray that I never forget my sister and my mom, and that I am able to be with both of them at every holiday and be able to look up to the sky and look into my heart and remember them and remember everything that they embody, and to be able to look at red cardinals and see my sister and hear my sister and know the journey that we went through as brother and sister, and the ups and the downs, and then the love that we shared for the last few years she was alive, and the time I spent with her in Florida, and getting to know her at a whole new level, and my love and honor and appreciation for her when she was awarded the #1 sales rep for Swiss Juiced in North America. And, that I had the privilege and honor of being there with her, because she had said, hey, come and be there with me. And, I look at my stepmother who passed away from a car accident. And, I look at, she made me promise, that if she had to be kept alive by a machine, to let her go. And, so I had to turn the power off and let her die. And, I know now, looking at that, that's what I want. And we had a party in her honor. We had the fest, had tables and chairs, and we had a party, and people signed pictures, and I had big picture boards, memory boards that my wife at the time helped me put together. And it was a time, and I had been coached by my coaches in the personal training and development program that I worked at. And they said, Les, this is a time for you to get to know who your mom was, who your stepmom was, for each of the people that come to the celebration of life. And I was like, that sounds cool. And it was absolutely hilarious. I mean, I found out how much of a jokester she was, how everybody looked at her as, she was one of the actors on Fawlty Towers, not in real life, but they looked at her that way. They always deferred to her when it came to etiquette and social decorum. And they laughed and shared some stories about me growing up that she had, shared. Oh my goodness, I can't believe I became a mother at 48 years old to two teenagers, both who were a handful, one male and one female. And the female wanted nothing to do with me in the beginning. And I didn't want anything to do with her either. And then she ended up being my best friend. And I look, does November 19th, 2 days ago, come and go? And I remember all the times that we've had, that we shared, the parties, the birthdays, the lunches, the dinners. She taught me to cook, and she taught me to clean. She taught me to drive because she was a better driver than my dad. And every time I think of some of these things, I thank God for her and all the time he gave me with her. And even though it was cut short in my mind and in my eyes, I know it was the exact time she was supposed to be here. It was already written, and it was already written that I would have to do what I did and learn from it and grow from it and love her even more. And, in answer to your thought, Carmen, I don't think, I, for one, I will not forget. And I'm looking forward to always remembering the great times. So I don't know if you want to comment on that, Carmen. Go right ahead.
I definitely can. And thank you so much for your input. And I thank you for that share. I would say that, my mother passed away about 5 years ago, and my mother passed away suddenly. And it was that brother, as I'm talking about my brother, why he's so meaningful to me. It was that brother that called me at about 12:30 in the morning when my mother was in the tub. Thank God she didn't drown. I think she had like a heart attack, and she just, laid back in the tub, and it was like she went to sleep. So I thank God for that, because it was that brother that called me that night at 12:30 and said to me, "Carmen, are you in bed?" And I said, "Yeah," but I knew something had happened because my brother doesn't call me at 12:30 in the morning. And he said, "Listen, I just want you to know, that Mom passed away." Wow. When I heard that news, it froze me because it was so unexpected. I had to call my friend, a very close friend of mine of 40 years, and I had to talk to her for 2 hours before I could move, before I could physically be able to get in my car, because I live alone, to get in my car and go down to Manhattan. And that particular brother, I said to him, "Listen, make sure that her body is not removed from the tub, because I have to see how she died." Because my concern was, some people die and you can see that it was like a painful death, because, it shows in their face.
Mm-hmm.
And that's all I wanted to see. I just wanted to know that she didn't suffer, she wasn't in pain or whatever. And when I got there, like 3 hours later, when I could drive, and I thank God for that, I walked into the bathroom. She was there in the tub, and I saw her face. That's all I wanted to see. And she was at peace. It was as if she had fallen asleep.
Well, she probably did.
Yes. You know, and it seemed like she just laid back and passed away in peace. And also, it makes me reflect on how I want to die, because I'm in my 60s. I'm not in my 20s. It makes you think about your own, what do you call it? Your own life. And it makes me think about, hey, how do I want to? Because like I said, I'm live alone. I'm divorced. How do I want to? It makes me reflect. How do I want to live the rest of my life, no matter what, no matter what happens around me, and it puts kind of like the onus on me. How do you want to live the rest of your life, since nobody knows when you're going to pass away or how or when? It makes me reflect on that, because that's where I'm at right now.
You live like every day is your last, and you enjoy and cherish every moment that God gives you.
And the other thing that I think has impacted the grief process for me, which I guess a therapist would say has made it complicated, is that my brother died, like I said, January of last year. And in the hospital, you couldn't visit him because of COVID. That was a big blow to my heart. Not being able to be there physically with my brother.
I experienced that. He had COVID. I couldn't visit my husband. They wouldn't let me in. They only let me in one time. They thought he was going to die in a couple of days, and he didn't. When he did die, I talked to him on the phone. Of course, he's in induced coma, but I knew he heard me because you could tell the heart monitor. He died 4 hours later. I didn't think that was fair that they did that, to be honest with you. He had to die, died alone. In a way, I guess I wasn't there. I mean, I did spend a few hours on the phone. The nurse let me at least speak to him and cried. And, it was an emotional time. I think that he died that night because we talked. I had this feeling, because I think maybe he sensed that I was ready, But COVID, a lot of people couldn't see their loved ones, Coach. That was the hardest part about COVID. Being alone, like without him for 2 months, a whole month, and not able to see him, not able to go, not know what kind of treatments they were doing. They did talk to me every once in a while. Can we do this to him? Can we treat him this way? Can we treat him that way? That was difficult because you couldn't be an advocate for him all the time because they wouldn't let you in the hospitals. But just one question I do have, I always ask the Lord, was because our loved ones are in heaven, because he's in heaven, do they think about us once in a while? I don't know the answer to that because I love him so much and I know he's gone with the Lord. I keep saying to myself, hope he never forgets me. I hope he never forgets me. So I always think that. I always do. And
the last time that I saw him, because even though he was dying and he was not responding to antibiotics at all, because his body was shutting down, and this happened very quickly. I had to, because amazingly, through God's grace, this was a hospital in Connecticut. They allowed a lot of family. I would say about 20. There was a room full with him as he was on a ventilator. It was packed. It was packed. It was packed. They allowed whoever could get there. I couldn't get there. I was too far away. I was like an hour and a half away when it was like, this is it. And so I actually went to the closest, one of those telephone places, like a T-Mobile. And because I couldn't get good reception where I live. And I actually was part of, what is it, when you can view? You can actually view the person, along with other people. Zoom? Zoom. I'm sorry. Yeah, that's the word. Thank you. On Zoom. And amazingly, I was here, at a T-Mobile store, and there was no one at the T-Mobile store. And I said, listen, I need to, because I wasn't familiar with Zoom. My brother is at this hospital and I need to Zoom in. And they were amazing. And at that T-Mobile, I was there at my brother's bedside with about 25 to 30 other people through the grace of God, because it was not imaginable at that time, to go into anyone's room, because of COVID. And but at the same time, it's very impactful to see someone on a respirator.
It was hard. I understand. It was
very
hard.
Impactful.
It was very difficult. Definitely it was.
And they actually stopped for a moment. They actually stopped for a moment and asked the people who were present there, the family members and friends, to exit while he was disconnected from the tube. And then they brought us back in. Okay. As he took breaths, his last breaths. And I saw how the doctor, they put the stethoscope on the heart to then tell you the time of death. And that was an exceptional. There's no experience like that. No experience like that. And that was just due. That was due to COVID.
Mm-hmm.
25 people. About 25 people, some through Zoom and some there, the presence, to witness that. That's not a usual, you know what I mean? That's not a usual event, but I thank God that I was able to be there. I was there. And, but at the same time, it's not an ordinary experience, But, Coach, you're absolutely right. There are the good times. And there were many good times. Many good times. Because my brother, every time that I went to his home in Connecticut, and it was often, my brother was sitting there quietly and enjoying us, the family, his siblings. He enjoyed when we were all together. And he did it quietly. And he loved us to be together. And I will never have that again. Because the reality is, he's not going to be there at those gatherings. And it won't be the same. However, yes, Coach, you're right. I have many beautiful memories. And I will tell you another exceptional thing that happened in spite of COVID, that we actually had a viewing at a funeral home, and the funeral home was packed. We got to view my brother, in a casket, and it was very beautifully done. And there was a video. One of my sister-in-laws had done a video of his life.
Mm.
And he lived and I have that video in my phone, because that video captured who he was, his manner, his quiet manner, him being a family. I'm proud of him because he was a family man through and through. So proud of him. And I saw that in that video. All the fun times, all the gatherings, and his quietness. And wow. And I was the oldest. But he, in his own quiet way, wow, what a presence. And sometimes you don't appreciate things, or you don't see things the same way until you lose that person. And those are my reflections. Wow, what brother I had. Yes, I will have the memories, but I'll never have a brother like me. I have three, like him. I have three other brothers, and none of them are like him.
Well,
because every person is unique in their own special way. So this all started because someone sent me a messenger. Hugs. That's how it all started. And that's how sometimes the process continues. You kind of think, oh, I'm doing okay. And along comes something from left field. Hugs. And actually, while I was speaking to you, she responded and said she didn't know that my brother had passed away. And she said to me, she shared with me, which I didn't know. She says, I'm a type 2 diabetic. So the conversation now, she has opened a door so that we can talk.
Hmm.
The miracle of communication.
Amen.
Isn't that something? And none of it was planned. None of it was planned at all. That's why I always say, God is always in the mix. He's always in the mix of my life. He always throws me for a loop. I think things are going to be this way or that way, or, I've even stopped thinking about it. When will grieving stop? I don't know. But along the way, I'm getting a lot of comfort from left field. So thank you so much for listening.
Well, you're very welcome. And I think, the fun about this, Carmen, is I think that to be able to hear how much you appreciate your brother and to be able to carry that message with you every time. And when the family gets together, perhaps it'll be left to you to be able to raise a glass and toast him.
Absolutely.
And give everybody a chance to share their favorite memory.
Yeah. Yes. That's a very good idea. Thank you. Because like I said, I don't even know. There was so much conflict. I guess the only word that I can use is conflict. There's one, because four of us are 4 years apart, four of us. And my sister, I have the sister it's myself, the brother that passed away, and another sister. And that sister, who is also close in age, has yet to go to the home. I've been to my brother's house in Connecticut since he passed away, but she has yet to go. It's still too painful for her. And what can I say? It's a process.
For some, it
Thank
is.
you. You're absolutely right about the toast. Mm-hmm.
All right. And with that, I want to pass the mic to Michelle Thompson. Michelle, are you here?
Hey, Coach Les, how are you? Hi, everybody. My name's
Hello.
Michelle, and I'm coming in from the Gold Coast, Australia. I am actually from New Zealand, but I live in Australia on the Gold Coast and have done with my family since 2007. Okay, so I'm looking at the topic and I'm getting a feel for what everybody is talking about and how do you deal with losing loved ones at Christmas time. I think in my life it was a little bit different. I lost my mother very young, 12. And I got up and checked her pulse and, put my hand over her mouth. And so what I learned from that experience is I learned to accept that these things happen. And so as I grew older and people died, I just knew they were going to a better place. And so I don't think, I might have my moments, but my mother was the biggest. I always think of my mother. I even miss her today. She was my rock and she was my world, and I was blessed to have her in my life for 12 years of it. When I lost my sister, it's another, that was another blow because she became my second mother. I was, with her, we had a really good relationship. We had a really strong relationship. She always looked after me. But I was also that kid that got sent to different places. My behavior was a bit whack and out of control and destructive due to, environment and whatever happened in that. However, I always think of my sister because she has a daughter today who is a podiatrist. And sometimes she'll do some things and it just reminds me of her mama. And so, she took me in and her and my brother-in-law kind of looked after me. But it was like we'd have a fight and she'd send me back to my dad's and we'd have a fight and then it was like a ping pong ball going back and forth. But I think I deal with grief very well. I mean, I am in the industry of aged care disability, which I have a passion for, and have created a company. And I'm working on, building it to the next level at the moment. But I'm not, I guess, attached to it as such. And I don't know if that is due to what happened to me. Even in the facility last year or the year before, when one of the staff wanted to go and see one of the clients that we got really close with, because you just do that in aged care. But she was too scared to go in the room on her own. So I went in there and he just looked so peaceful, just had the Bible on top of him. He just looked beautiful as a beautiful human. I've lost twins twice. And so, it's... the healing process, in the environment where I come from, you weren't actually allowed to grieve. And so I think that has a lot to do with it. But then when I lost my mum, I grieve because now the culture and her family, now they take her 7 hours away. So we can't even go and see her. And so I think a lot of that for me is just that you just accepted it. And I actually found the more that I accepted it, the easier things got, in that environment. However, I definitely miss her today. And it was funny because I just told my other daughter the other day, if your Nana was here, I don't even think you'd be living here. Like, my mum loves kids. She just loved them. And the whole family were like that. When I had my daughter, my mum's sister wanted to take my daughter. I look after her. I'm like, no, she's my daughter, auntie. But my mum's sister could never have children. And she raised a lot of children to go on and do great things. And so, my mum's family, they didn't know domestic violence or anything like that. That was my dad's manipulation, his side. And although I've made peace with him because he just didn't have the tools to parent, my mother came from a beautiful family, and you could feel the love emanating off them before you even got to them. It was that strong. And so the way that I look at death, and when I approach Christmas, I appreciate and I'm grateful for the fact that they had a small part to play in my life, whether good or bad, because I've turned out all right still. And, I just remember, that one day I'm going to be there. I'm going to see them all again. And so, at the moment, I think I deal with grief relatively pretty well. Doing the healing journey, a lot more of that came out, because it wasn't until I did that journey that I realized how much I missed my mother, how much suppressing all the emotions was kind of at the root, and how much I actually needed to allow myself to cry, needed to allow myself to grieve, but in a safe place. And so, I think of, I've got a sister in New Zealand right now, and she's got cardiomyopathy, and she can't have the operation because she'll die on the table. There's one thing losing a parent, but when you lose your sister, like your best friend. And so, there was a journey that I had to go on with God, really to submit to him so that he could heal me, and B, come out the other end and recognize that even though I'm of Christ, what happened to us in that environment wasn't okay. However, the death of my mother just turned my whole world upside down, because I was like leaving primary school and I was about to head into high school. I just stopped going to school. I was an A-grade student. So, from there, I kind of made my own choices, but I didn't have parents. My dad got married 6 months after, and coming back to death, I just didn't have that guidance. I didn't have that foundation. I didn't have a mum or dad picking me up after I fell down. You just got up. You just got up yourself. And so, with death, I look at my sister and her life has been battled. I'm the one that got saved. So trust me, I'm so grateful to be breathing every single day, whilst my sister is mostly on a asthma machine. And like myself, when I lost my sister, Karen, I took her to the hospital. I didn't even know that she was in danger. She took ages. I thought when she comes around, she'll get me, we'll go. But I didn't realize, only because I've studied it now, that when someone is having an asthma attack or about to and they go quiet, it's actually really dangerous. Because I didn't know that. But I took her straight to the hospital, A&E. I realized, look, she's running out because she's climbing out my window, like literally her whole body is out there. And I realized then she cannot breathe. So I just pump it. I go through the red lights. I'm like, what? If police follows me, they can follow me to the A&E, because by then my intuition / called discernment realized something's very wrong here. So I go in and I get her out there. I go up, and I'm telling you, it's like something you see in a hospital. It was packed. It's like something you see on TV. And I just was in a panic, and I just went straight up the front. I turned around. I said, I'm really sorry, but my sister's in the car. She cannot get out. I actually think she's going to have an asthma attack. Can someone help me? A nurse and the security guard followed me out. I went to go get her out the car. She said, I got no energy. I put her into the seat, and she went straight into cardiac arrest. They moved her out. The doctor came down 20 minutes later, said, look, your sister's died. We're trying to bring her back. I was a mess. I'm like, I don't even know what's happening. I'm behind a pole. They've just lifted her on this bed, smashed all the... I'm not kidding. They basically literally knocked all the poles over because, obviously she's in a really bad way. And I'm behind this pole, not sure what to do, but this lovely lady, she's like, honey, just come into this room. And it was the nurse took me to a room just so I could gather my thought, my train of thought. I knew something was wrong, but I just didn't know what. The doctor comes in, he says, I'm really sorry she's died and we're trying to bring her back. Then when they took me out to the room, they said, look, your sister that you brought in before, you're actually not going to recognize her. I walked straight past her. He's like, that's just... I'm like, no, it's not. My sister now had about 20 tubes coming out of every... She had blown up like a balloon. I didn't recognize her. I'm standing there saying, no, that's not her. And he was like, remember when I told you downstairs? She just looked like... She went from a size 6 to a size 20. I'm not kidding. She was so big. But because of the medication and the wines that were coming out of her, you know, they were trying to do their best to bring her back. 2 months into it, my father came, and I was very angry because I was in the habit of blaming him, like, this is you, this, you know, because I know her life story. Anyway, she only told me that a week before. However, long story short, I got over myself and realised this is really about her right now, and I can't afford to fall apart, and I can't afford to be this way. And so basically 2 months into it, I told my dad that we had a meeting. I said, turn her off. And my dad was like, no. In fact, he had to leave the hospital. I had to tell him to go, you need to get out because you're disrupting the nurses. They're trying to do their job. One of the nurses told me I was being really arrogant, but I knew my dad was really scared, you know, because he's about to lose his daughter, and I think he knew it. And so anyway, I told him, you need to go. You need to go home. You need to have a rest. Just stay away because you're upsetting everybody. And I get where you're going from right now, but they don't need it, right? It's not helping her. So when he goes home for a couple of hours, my sister brings him back. And then the nurses have a meeting with us, and they say, what do we do? My dad's like, leave her on, leave her on. Everyone was against. I said, no, turn her off. And then he said, why would you say that? I said, because it's about quality of life. And I know her well enough to know that if she can't even hold her children, Dad, then that she's just dead. She's there, but she's not there, and that's not fair because that's not quality. Anyway, 3 months into it, my dad came up to me and he goes, you know, your decision you made. I said, I stand by it. I just know her too well. Because they had told us that, yes, she's going to survive, but she's going to be a vegetable. She's not going to recognise anyone. She's not going to hear you. She's not going to be able to speak. This is my sister who looked after me. This is my sister who I was there for to help look after her children. Yeah, that's no life. That's absolutely cruel, I thought. So my stand from day one was turn her off. And eventually something happened. Okay, this is what happened. We're in the room. There's me, my dad, and my mother-in-law, my stepmother, because my stepmother is another story. But anyway, and she couldn't speak that whole time in the 3 months. And I swear, without, you know, I swear on the cross, my sister said, Mum, and it sounded like a sheep, like, Mum. And I just said, is Mum waiting for you? Go. And when you get there, do me a big favour and just give her the biggest hug ever and tell her that I love her and I miss her. So anyway, I went home. I told Dad, look, I'm going to go home and get her clothes. She always liked my clothes, and there was a jacket she really liked and a shirt. And so I told my sister, if I never wear it again, you can have it. Well, I put it on her because I went with my dad and I dressed her. And I put that shirt on her, and I put her the jacket on her that she loved of mine. And then I did her makeup so that when they took the lid off, she would be absolutely stunning, and she was absolutely stunning. And so, you know, for me, I just know there's no more pain. You know, you don't have to go through that anymore. And so I've just got used to accepting, even with my sister in New Zealand, you know, it's not good. We had to go home, I had to do her end-of-life care plan. But she was so hilarious, you know, and we made it fun. And it was a bit hard when she had to get to her children. What do you want to say to them? That's the only time she really broke down. But other than that, we made it very joyous, you know. And, you know, I say to her every day, you know, God's got you, because cats have 9 lives. It's like he's giving you 99. You know, your time isn't over yet. And so now I just ring her, you know, to remind her that the Lord is still with her. You know, and so I look at, you know, my situation, you know, I've been able to overcome that. I've built a company, you know, I'm writing a book. I'm just doing all these things that I didn't even know I could do, you know, and people have come against, and that's okay. You know, I've been emotional. Yes, I have. But hey, you know, I'm human. You know, I'm developing, I'm becoming, I'm learning through all the adversity and through all the people that I love who are not here anymore. You know, they are my why. You know, my mother, she was just such a kind heart. And I knew she prayed for me because of where I am today. I knew it. She believed in God. And, you know, and whether people want to say it wasn't enough, no, it was enough for her, because now I've been blessed from her praying for me, you know. And so, you know, my encouragement today is, you know, I don't think I'm being insensitive to the situations and the stories that I've heard, because, you know, we all deal with grief a different way, and we all deal with it the way that we know how best, because there's no book that tells you how to do that, you know, and you have to just grieve when you can. I found when I lost my mum, there were times that I would just go outside and cry and say, Mum, what would you have me do here? What would you have me do? And so, yeah. Anyway, I just want to yield the mic with that. Thank you. Thank you for the share. Thank you for allowing me to express and to be authentic. Love you all.
Michelle, thank you. Thanks for being here. Thanks for sharing. And I want to pass the mic to Sujata. Did you want to share something?
Yeah. I
There you
just want to say thank you to everybody for their shares, because we learn how we process grief differently. But the line is that if we learn to accept what happens and we remember the happy memories, I think that sees us through. And there is some things which are not in our control, but we can always, through the tears, smile and what they left us with. And I believe that even if they're not around, we cannot see them, but their presence is around us. They are always actually more with us now than ever before. That's what I feel when I think of my parents or my sister who's passed away recently. That's what I
Yeah, I'm with you, Sujata. I think that they're part of the whole game plan is that they're watching us. They get to see us. They get to impact us. They get to say stuff to us. They get to be our guiding angels, I think. And I think some of that guiding comes from us remembering who they are and how they would want us to move forward. Does that make sense?
absolutely.
Well, I thank you, everybody, and I want to say thank you for such an amazing conversation tonight. I think that these conversations are never easy, and yet I think they make a difference. They give us space. They give us life. They give us an opportunity to work with each other, share with each other, and grow with each other. And I want to take this time to say thank you to each of you for being here. And Carmen, welcome to this community. Thank you so much for sharing your heart. Michelle Thompson, thank you for sharing your story. And Michelle Trado, thank you as well. We appreciate it and honor all that's been shared. And I know that if somebody is suffering and they listen to this, it will give them a new sense of peace. So for that, I say thank you to each of you. And I know we've gone way over time, and I all I want to do is just acknowledge that. And also thank you. And I look forward to, if you're available, we are going to do Wednesday afternoon on Central Standard Time. And then we'll be doing Friday. We do Fridays with this podcast at 9:30 p.m., a half an hour later, we get started. So we're testing out doing Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And hopefully the times work for you and you can come and join us. And if you have a topic that you would like us to step into, feel free to send us a back channel message, and we will put it into the mix. Anything else for you, Sujata, this evening?
No, I thank all of you for being here, because time is the greatest gift, and as you said, Carmen, nothing happens by coincidence. I mean, it's not by coincidence that you came into this room. I mean, each one of us is meant to be in a room and to share our stories, because from each other's stories we learn. So thank you all for being here.
Yeah, I appreciate each and every one of you. And with that, this room, I will do a fun little outtake here to say cheerio to everybody. And here we go.